Greetings, welcome, bienvenidos, hola, aloha, ni hao, namaste, konnichiwa, bonjour, buongiorno, sawadee karup, guten tag, jawi viva cat bang, half a day, jai janendra, privyet, salam, shalom, peace. Now, go vegan. Peace how? Go vegan. Welcome to Go Vegan Radio with Bob Linden, our 20th year anniversary as the first vegan talk show ever to infiltrate mainstream media, an uncompromising voice for the animals and human health and the environment. And we would have so much more money in donations if only we were to compromise, like so many so-called animal rights groups out there selling cage-free eggs, or so-called environmental groups out there selling us the false fossil fuel solution, when in reality the only solution for the environment is we all have to go vegan. We save the planet merely by eating. Isn't that great? I mean, we all love to eat. We just don't eat meat, dairy, fish, eggs, and honey anymore. And we do eat fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, seeds, and beans. And then, voila, we have done it. We've saved the environment. And, you can do your part for the environment today. You don't have to wait for anybody else. You just today. All you have to do is go vegan, and, you don't need those pesky politicians or governments or so-called environmental groups again, who haven't really quite gotten it right yet, have they? I mean, because they're all at Earth Day events this weekend eating hot dogs, or just like they were doing at the climate conference in Copenhagen. Das all these politicians, pretending to be aware, uh, and yet we see them on TV, on camera, sitting there, um, eating a bowl of cow's milk ice cream and telling us we need a Green New Deal, when in reality what we need is a Green New Meal. Yes, it's time to take it in our own hands, with the food we eat, and then we can save the world. It's as simple as that. So, and you don't have to just believe me, because on today's Earth Day weekend super special episode of Go Vegan Radio with Bob Linden, we will be talking to, I promise, a super fascinating interview with an earth and environmental superhero. Of course, all vegans are earth and environmental superheroes, but he's a super duper superhero, Dr. SAILESH Rao, who is the founder of Climate Healers and executive producer of Cowspiracy and What the Health, which are two of the most amazing and important documentaries ever executive produced by anyone. So I would say prepare for a mind-blowing education on the environment today with Dr. SAILESH Rao. This on our special Earth Day weekend super special episode. And you can be special too and make every day Earth Day simply by going vegan. Okay? So this is actually the 51st Earth Day. And honestly, it doesn't seem to have helped much. Things don't seem to be improving. I mean, 51 years ago, maybe then we were, concerned about some cloud of smog above us there, and then along came climate change and deforestation, and give lip service over the years to all of these: water scarcity and pollution and soil erosion, desertification, acidification, eutrophication, habitat destruction, mass extinction. And yes, all of these would be solved if we were all to go vegan, Yeah, definitely. But now, just when um, there's always something new added on to the problems, and just when sea creatures were adjusting to a steady diet of discarded Aquafina bottles, along come billions of plastic face masks, uh, you know, dumped into the oceans. Uh, and by the way, shown in numerous studies, including a brand new one from Stanford University, to not be effective in preventing COVID, but also being potential health risks to us. So here again, just like eating meat, dairy, fish, and eggs, it's not good for us. It's not good for the animals. It's not good for the environment. Why do we do it? And now the same thing with the face masks, so which are unsafely limiting our oxygen, and then we're breathing in our own carbon dioxide, which really is meant, for trees to breathe. So maybe, take off the mask and, you know, you'll breathe easier, and maybe the trees will breathe easier. The trees are probably thinking like, stop hugging me and just, take off that mask. All right. So anyway, um, remember in Earth days past when we were all up in arms about Monsanto and GMOs and a, a bit of selfish history right now, I might note. I was the first person ever arrested in California for protesting against GMOs many years ago. Uh, it's all a blur. I can't possibly say what year it was, but it was in San Diego. And I had the megaphone, which is usually the cop magnet. Um, and my chant was, "We don't want no potato engineered by Monsanto." Yeah, so I was charged with not having a poetic license, which, just exercising my freedom of speech, which right now some unexpected people seem to want to curtail these days. Because, well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I joke about things, and then it turns out maybe not so funny. Maybe not so funny because too close to reality. And lately, I've been thinking, it used to be we were just concerned about fruits and vegetables being genetically modified organisms. As mad scientists created GMO corn and soy and beets and whatever. Um, and now, though, with the new experimental biological agents being uh, sold to us as vaccines, it looks more and more to me like people are becoming GMOs. And I don't know, is the attitude, GMOs are everywhere. If you can't beat them, join it and become one? I don't know. Become one yourself? So I kind of joked on Facebook. Um, well, what I said exactly on Facebook was, I'm quoting myself here. Quote from Bob Linden. After receiving your ouchie from Fauci, the unapproved experimental jab that literally modifies your genes, you may proudly officially classify yourself as a GMO. Congratulations. Let's celebrate. Shots of Roundup for everyone. Well, some people have no sense of humor. So the reaction from a lot of people, and he was like, "I'm unfriending you. I'm reporting you for misinformation. You are stupid." Um, so, I did write a response on Facebook. I don't even know. I haven't checked in a few days. Kind of lost my enthusiasm for Facebook and Twitter because they they're involved with so much censorship that now I'm concerned that, whatever my response may have been censored, or my original not funny joke uh, may not be there. I don't even I don't know. I'll have to check to see if I'm still on Facebook. So uh, yeah, I mean, it was just a joke. You know what I mean? I mean, I thought it was just a joke until I saw this video by Dr. Carrie Madej, Madej. Saw this video of Dr. Madej, and she was giving she was kind of giving a background on Moderna, which is one of the vaccine manufacturers, saying that it was founded by Derek Rossi at Harvard University. What he did, she said he proved you can genetically modify something by using genetically modified RNA. Well, as it turns out, the mRNA that's in the so-called vaccine is, genetically modified RNA. And what Rossi did at Harvard was he modified, with modified RNA, he reprogrammed stem cells. So, well, maybe, we're very, very low production value here, but I wonder if you can hear some of this video from Dr. Carrie Madej, Madej. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, but let's see if you can hear what she said. Oops. I'm sure you can't hear it yet. Let me see if I can get to around. Let's see here. Did I?
Tiny needles, and this
okay,
was.
Let me go a little further ahead here. Whoops, back a little. All right, let's just pick it up where.
Anyway, in these tiny little spicules, they claim you won't really feel it that much.
Okay, I want to go. You can see the low production values we have here, but let me see if this is.
Well, in this Band-Aid, it has little tiny spicules.
I want to get past this a little bit. Talk amongst yourselves for half a second.
Viper fang bite, okay? Or snake viper fangs.
All right, not quite to the point I want to get yet. Why do I keep getting over there? Okay, sorry, I apologize, but this can save your life, so it's worth worth it. I'm trying to get it right on the screen here.
So. Anyway, in these tiny little spicules, they claim you won't really feel it that much. Well, there's their little hydrogel. It's a material called hydrogel.
I just can't get it to jump to the place where I want it to. Let's see, is that right? Let me see here. I apologize. I apologize profusely. Let's see what happens now. Come on, play.
Okay, so what is all that? So first of all, you're getting the vaccine. It's modified RNA or modified DNA. Let's take Moderna, modified RNA. So in that modified RNA, the idea is that the microneedles would puncture into your cell membrane, okay? And this synthetic piece of an RNA, it's a code for the part of the virus, where they could use a synthetic DNA. It's a code for the part of the virus, would go into your nucleus. Your body would start transcribing it, would start reading it, and making more of that part of the virus. Well, why would we want to make more of the virus or part of the virus? The idea is your body would get used to seeing it, would know how to make antibodies, and would have an improved T-cell response. And the idea is then when you saw it in the future, your body would already know how to fight it, and it would be a better response. That's the idea. The problem with that is they're using a process called transfection. And transfection is a way that we make genetically modified organisms. Okay, I think you know about those fruits and vegetables. They're not as healthy as the normal wild type fruit and vegetables. So possibly you could extrapolate that to a human. If we become genetically modified, we would not be as healthy, okay? We don't have long-term studies on this anyway. This is unbelievable. And, you know, the vaccine manufacturers have made the statement, this will not alter our DNA, our genome. I say that is not true. Because if we use this process to make a genetically modified organism, why would it not do the same thing to a human? I don't know why they're saying that. Now, if you look at the definition of transfection, it'll tell you that it can be a temporary change in the cell. And I think that's what the vaccine manufacturers are banking on. It's temporary. Or it's a possibility for it to become stable, to be taken up into the genome, and so stable that it will start replicating when the genome replicates, meaning it is now a permanent part of your genome. That's a chance that we're taking. So it could be temporary or it could be permanent. And we would never know that for years down the road, honestly. So here we go. We've got something that can alter our genome. It's a possibility. And another thing on that, if they're altering the genome, what would be the effects? I told you previously some of the side effects, but also we need to know that this is a synthetic piece of DNA or RNA, okay? And if it becomes taken up into the genome of a human, it's synthetic, it's not from nature. And if you look at the Supreme Court Justice ruling on synthetic DNA or genes, it can be patented, and patents have owners. So what does that mean for us? What if this gets into our genome? Does that mean Moderna or the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or the Department of Defense, all of these people who are involved in the patents, or are they somehow going to own part of our genome? It's a possibility. You need to know that. So that's one part of this delivery system, just one. Now let me go to the next. The next part of the delivery system is a luciferase enzyme.
Well, okay, so we'll cut it there for now. So it was a joke. Now I have to ask you, are you a GMO? Are you a GMO? I don't know if that cut out a little bit while she was on or whatever, but anyway, so she was saying that transfection is the way we make genetically modified organisms, and transfection is the process by which this synthetic RNA is being made. So she says if we become genetically modified, we would not be as healthy, and the vaccine makers are saying this will not alter our DNA or our genome, and she says that that's not true. That because if we use this process to make a genetically modified organism. I can't read. It's I'm sorry, I can't even read my own notes here. Okay, but why would it not do the same to us? Okay, all right. Now I can read my own scribble while I was listening. So the vaccine makers are saying this will not alter our DNA or genes, and she says, I say that's not true because to make a genetically, to use this process, this transfection process, modifies other organisms. Why would it not do the same to us? And we don't know if it will or not. It's not tested. All right. Anyway, you get the picture. Okay. Well, we're working on it here. What can we do? Grassroots nonprofit trying to put out some information that you can't get anywhere that could theoretically save your life. or at least prevent you from becoming a GMO. Are you a GMO? Would you like to be? I wouldn't. I don't want to eat any GMO foods. So anyway, it's Go Vegan Radio with Bob Linden. As I said, we have Dr. SAILESH Rao coming up from Climate Healers, and he it's going to be fascinating. He was the executive producer of Cowspiracy and What the Health. I want to give a shout out to all the vegan restaurants who have managed to stay in business during this pandemic, whatever we have going here. Please support your local vegan restaurants. Keep them in business. Do the takeout thing, or I don't know if you can dine in. Depending upon what stage of dictatorial rules are in effect right now, whether it's takeout or you can dine in or whatever it is, please support your local 100% vegan restaurants. Let's keep them going. A shout out to Vegetarian House in San Jose, one of my favorites, 100% organic, non-GMO. I don't know, maybe now when we say non-GMO, it means like people, like only the non-GMO people can dine here. GMO people, outside, with a mask, with a whole hazmat suit on, maybe, right? Can you believe it? It's come to that. People are becoming GMOs. Who would have thunk it when we were protesting in those first days against Monsanto? We don't want no potato engineered by Monsanto. Shout out to Evolution Vegan Dog and Cat Food, which we greatly appreciate. Daisy loves it. She's been enjoying it for 8 years now. She is happy and healthy, and Evolution has been in business. It's a family-owned business, been around 3 decades now. No product recalls. Vegan dog and cat food, suitable for all stages of your companion animals' lives. And just check it out. Go to petfoodshop.com, petfoodshop.com. It's Go Vegan Radio with Bob Linden. As I said, this is our 20th anniversary. You can go to goveganradio.com, and there are, I don't know, about 650 archived programs that you can listen, that you can hear for free. And you can also make a donation. You can find that donation button at goveganradio.com. It's Go Vegan Radio with Bob Linden at goveganradio.com. On Facebook, Go Vegan Radio with Bob Linden. And there are the multiple Bob Linden pages, because I didn't know how to get started on Facebook when it started, so I'm all over the place there with multiple pages. And on Twitter, at Go Vegan Radio. And it's our 20th anniversary of this program. And we are really so honored to be a voice for the animals and the planet and human health. And you can support our show. There is a donate button at goveganradio.com. And it is our Earth Day weekend super spectacular today. And of course, what would we be doing but saluting the earth and environmental superheroes of today, meaning vegans, right? They are the only ones who can save the planet and stop climate crisis and extinction and save the animals and human health simply by eating. Pretty amazing, huh? And I, myself, personally, have saved about 11 million gallons of water by being vegan for 37 years. But enough about me. Uh, Today we have an earth and environmental super duper hero because not only is he vegan, but he is a true activist, an educator, and researcher for the cause. And by day, a mild-mannered systems specialist with a PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford, a former director of communications for Intel Corporation, and distinguished member of the technical staff at ATT Bell Labs. But as a superhero, Dr. Sailesh Rao is the founder and executive director of Climate Healers in Phoenix, Arizona, and he is the author of two books, Carbon Dharma, The Occupation of Butterflies, and Carbon Yoga, The Vegan Metamorphosis, and he is an executive producer of two of the most important and wonderful documentaries I've ever seen, Cowspiracy, the Sustainability Secret, and What the Health, and a couple of other documentaries that I haven't seen, The Human Experiment and A Prayer for Compassion. So from what I'm reading here, Dr. Sailesh Rao, what, you and Al Gore started the internet together? Is that correct?
No, thanks,
No?
Bob. No.
Did I get that wrong? Where am I wrong here?
No, the internet was around a long time before we got involved.
Well, but tell me, it'll be interesting, how you did transition and go from one life to the other. And it actually, what was it? You were a pioneer in internet technology, right? What was it that involved you or your time or?
Yeah, well, when I joined the Internet Committee back in '95,
The Internet Committee?
yeah, we had a committee, the engineers, Electrical and Electronic Engineers Association. This the Institute for Electrical and Electronic Engineers had a working group on determining standards for how do you connect on the internet. So basically,
Wow. Well,
how
that's
do you do this
fascinating
connect?
just to know that there was an internet committee that met to, well, I guess somebody had to plan it, right? It's not just
Exactly.
magic. It just didn't happen on its own. So, yeah. So, okay. So tell us about the committee and what happened and all of that.
So I joined the committee in '95. That's when I started going to their meetings. Basically, this committee, any engineer, any electrical engineer can join. That's the way it is set up. And you're just volunteering your time to help the community figure out how best to communicate across wires or over fiber or whatever medium it is, right?
Mhm.
How do you do it? And so when I joined in '95, all the connections were basically analog connections, meaning you send data as analog signals and you pick it up at the other end. You just
Was that in the day of like slow modems with all the crazy noises they
no.
used to make?
This was actually faster. So we were doing they were doing 10 megabit and they were doing 100 megabits per second. So 10 megabit per second, they did it on voice grade cables, and then 100 megabit per second, they did it on data grade cables. In fact, the 10 megabit standard was the one that really made the IEEE committee famous because it made communications on the internet relatively robust. And so people said, wow, this works. So they sold like tens of millions of these units.
Wow.
And
then isn't it amazing? A bunch of scientists get together and they go, wow, it works.
I know.
Reminds me of my school science fair back in New York when it's like, oh, we mix the ingredients. They work. This is incredible.
Yeah, see, this is the way it was set up. Basically, the committee's work is designed in a way that what the committee comes up with is more intelligent than what any one individual could have done on their own. So this is called collective intelligence, right? So you make the collective much, much smarter than each individual. And how do you organize yourself to do that? And that's what the Internet Committee was all about, So they had protocols in place, methodology in place, so that when people come together and work together, they're able to contribute their best and thereby make the whole much better than what each one could have done on their own.
Oh, kind of the opposite of governing by committee.
Exactly. Kind of the opposite of what we do today in governance. Because in governance today, everybody knows that animal agriculture is causing pandemics, is causing destruction on the planet, et cetera, but the collective, the government, doesn't want to even talk about it. And I'm looking at them and saying, what the heck is wrong with these people?
Oh, right. And then to actually talk about climate crisis, but never to recognize the answer when it's really been out there and published. And, if I can find it, they can find it,
Exactly.
And, actually, I had a pretty interesting, I wanted to get into the timeline of looking at animal agriculture and all, but I also wanted to hear how I wanted to stay with you and the electronics and what did you contribute to the committee? Did you have an idea that in particular that was got you a good grade?
Yeah, basically what I did was convert a analog communications infrastructure to a digital version. So what that meant was they were sending just 1 bit per signal, so to speak, right? So at the other end, is it a 1 or a 0? That's all you have to make a decision on. Right?
And that's that still really all it is zeros and ones? Is that what?
That's what they were doing. And I said, wait a minute, guys, you can be smarter than that. So let's figure out how to use this cable to send digital versions of it. So that's my contribution. I created a digital signal processing version of it that ran 10 times faster.
And then when it happened, did you say, I can't believe it, it works?
Exactly. They all said, what are you talking about? This is complicated. You'll believe it when we say it, kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. But they were surprised, and everyone was surprised when it actually started working.
So that affected the speed of communication on the internet? Like that was yeah?
It made it go 10 times faster and made it robust on the same cable.
Mm-hmm. Is it still that same speed, or is there a committee?
There was a committee that wanted to do 10 times faster than that, at 10 gigabit per second. And that standard, it became a standard, but it wasn't very successful because it wasn't very robust.
Well, so we all owe you a debt of gratitude for helping us communicate more quickly. And be overloaded with more communication all the time because of it, probably. So, and so how did you? So you were with Intel and you were at Bell Labs, and so when did veganism strike? When did? What?
Well, it was in 2005. I was working on 10 gigabit Ethernet, and I was not very excited about it at that time because it was a mess, and I thought it was not going to work. And so I came home one day and I sat down on my couch and I turned on my TV, and there was Al Gore talking about climate change. And he was giving his Inconvenient Truth presentation to activists in San Francisco, and someone had videotaped it and put it on TV. So I was rooted to that. I was watching it and I was telling my wife, if half of what he's saying is true, everybody should be working on this. Mm-hmm. And the entire planet is dying and people are just going about their own business. And so she told me, if you think it's that important, why don't you go study it? So that's what I did. And within a couple of months, I'd say by 3 months or so, I went back to her and I told her it's far worse. And I really need to focus on this full time. She said, okay, if that's what you want to do, go for it. And so, yeah. I mean, I have an amazing family. Okay, so so we closed down our company. And,
you closed down your company, you said?
Yeah, I closed down our company, and I wrote to Mr. Gore and I said, "How can I help you?" I didn't hear back from him for 6 months, and then 6 months later, I got a letter saying, "Would you like to get trained by Mr. Gore?" And I said, "Sure." So I went in, I think it was November of 2006 that I got trained to give his presentation. But even during the training, I asked him a question about animal agriculture. So I asked him, if we take all the land that we are using for grazing these animals and return them back to the forest that used to be there, can we not reverse climate change? I mean, to me, it was a simple calculation. Basically, at that point, there was a report from the UN FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, saying that 1/3 of the land area of the planet was used to just graze animals. And so, and I know that grazing land doesn't store much carbon. And I also know that land stores 3 times as much carbon as the atmosphere. So I was just doing back of the envelope calculations and saying, wait a minute, this is not that hard.
Yeah, that was a little too inconvenient of a truth for Al Gore, though, right? So, and I think his family is in the livestock business, right? So,
well, what happened was during the training, you're allowed to ask questions, and I asked him that question. I asked him, if we return the forest back on the land that we are using for grazing, can we not reverse climate change? And he turned to Roy Neal, his chief of staff, and he said, how did this guy get in here?
You and I have similar lives, like I tell you.
So he didn't want to answer. He didn't want to
Mhm.
answer it.
Yeah.
So then, of course, I kind of started persisting on it, and he was not very happy with me. So I sent him a letter. I actually got a whole bunch of my colleagues to co-sign a letter, and I sent it to him in 2009, I think, August of 2009. And he sent back a reply basically saying, it's not as bad as you think. We need to focus on one message. So anyway, and he told us to focus on giving his presentation. I said, okay, fine, I'll do that. But then I had started Climate Healers by 2007 because I knew that I wanted to address climate change holistically, look at all the issues as opposed to just focusing on how you can make money off of it.
Right. Oh, exactly. That's what it is. That's the whole. That's the corruption of the climate movement and the animal rights movement. Whatever. It's like, how can they make money while continuing to ignore the main factor that pretty much solves everything?
Right.
I mean, when people hear about the role of animal agriculture in the environment, they are so often shocked that I mean, so and it almost seems it almost seems too wild a thought. But so I wanted to go over this chronology that I have with so I'm doing this radio show now for 20 years, and the purpose of the show is to try to convince everybody to go vegan with whatever ammunition I might have. And it used to be, as a street activist, I'd have my megaphone and be, doing some talking, and people would say, "Oh, get a life, you get out of here," and but with a background in radio, so I was able to start a talk show initially on KRLA in Los Angeles, and then went on to other places and networks and everything. But there just seemed to be more credibility. So the same thing that I would say in the megaphone on the street, where people would say, "Get a life." If I do it on the radio, they go, "Hey, did you hear what the guy on the radio said?" It's like almost like this credibility. So that's kind of interesting. And just because you mentioned how Al Gore was unhappy with you, I just I just remembered there was kind of a conference of green festivals, supposedly environmental festivals, and a friend dragged me off uh, to be there, and then there was a question and answer period, and I got up and I said, well, if your festivals are all supposed to be green and environmental, how come you serve any meat, dairy, fish, and eggs? And they couldn't answer it either. For them, it was the same thing. Like, how did this guy get in here? You
Right.
know.
Right.
So so often they they don't want to face the issue. So doing this radio show, going along to, I believe it was around 2006. And by the way, I think you have your white paper, Animal Agriculture is the Leading Cause of Climate Change, is brilliant, and everybody has to read that and see it. And in it, you have a chronology that kind of matches my path a little along here. Like in 2006, there was the release of Livestock's Long Shadow by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN. And when that came out, it said, oh, animal agriculture is responsible for 18% of human-generated greenhouse gas emissions. And I was all excited because 18% added up to more than all transportation combined, all cars, boats, trains, planes. So I thought, wow, we really have something here. I have a selling point to go vegan, okay? So there's that. So that was 15 years ago when I was touting what the FAO was saying, not knowing, well, I was told later by, what happened then in 2009 was the report from Robert Goodland and Jeff Anhang at the World Bank, and theirs was, what was it, Livestock and Climate Change. And in that, they said, no, it's not 18%. They used the wrong, outdated numbers, and they omitted this information, and it's actually at least 51% of all human-generated greenhouse gas emissions. And I'm thinking, this is like the greatest information I could ever have. Now I can convince everybody to go vegan because it's more than everything else combined. Nothing else combined can add up to 51%. And they're not just saying 51%, they're saying at least 51%. And it was from them because I did a lot of studying with Jeff Anhang and Robert Goodland and understood, come to understand some of what they were saying. And, they were saying that, animal agriculture is the number one cause of climate change, and that only a massive population shift to vegan can really reverse it and bring us to pre-industrial carbon levels. So, but it was also from Jeff Anhang that I learned that the Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, is part of the livestock industry. So that report would be somewhat tainted. By the way, the Humane Society of the United States, or Humane Society International, is also part of that association with the FAO and the livestock industry for increased demand for animal products. But what's shocking to me is, so Goodland and Anhang say, okay, it's at least 51%, and then you come along with your white paper, Animal Agriculture is the Leading Cause of Climate Change, and you say it's 87%.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's like even better information for me to convince everyone. But can you take us through? Well, take us through that white paper if you can, or the ideas behind it, and how you can come to such a calculation. Because people thought it was crazy when it was 18% more than all transportation, and then 51% more than everything else combined, and then you come up with 87%. Oh, and by the way, there was one interesting point that was made even in Livestock's Long Shadow, the flawed, debunked 2006 FAO report. Little noticed, it said something there that, like, land cultivation is responsible for more carbon emissions than the entire fossil fuel industry.
Right.
And that was another curious point, like, what's going on here? So you've done a lot of research, and let us know what you know on all of this. I think it's really
Yeah. So you hit upon it. Basically, we have been cutting down forests for animal agriculture for 10,000 years. Okay, whereas fossil fuels we've been burning for just 200 years. So, and yeah, we are burning a lot of fossil fuels every year, but climate change is caused by cumulative emissions. Whatever you have done over the throughout the last 10,000 years. You have to add it all up. So when you add it all up, it turns out that the amount of carbon we've emitted through deforestation exceeds the amount of carbon we've emitted through fossil fuels. Okay? First thing.
No,
Second,
I never hear that anywhere. Now, that's a very important point, isn't it? I mean, sometimes I feel like I get repetitive on the show because people don't hear this anywhere else, but
right.
Make that point again, because now with the little asterisk here, it's like, this is dramatic, right? I mean,
yeah, basically, and there are scientific papers on this showing that the amount of carbon we've emitted from land use changes over the last 10,000 years is 50% more than the amount of carbon we've emitted from fossil fuels over the last 250 years. So fundamentally, if you look at the number of trees on the planet, okay? So the number of trees on the planet right now, we have about 3 trillion trees. But 10,000 years ago, there were 6 trillion trees. So we cut half the trees on the planet. Okay? And each tree holds about a ton of CO2. Because a tree is carbon that used to be in the atmosphere. That's being sequestered by the tree. That's how the tree grows. It takes CO2 from the atmosphere and puts it in its trunk. And so every tree will store a ton of CO2.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow.
So 3 trillion trees will store 3 trillion tons of CO2. Well, how many tons of CO2 have we put into the atmosphere since the industrial era began? Maybe at most at 1 trillion tons. So fundamentally, we can reverse climate change by bringing back the forests that we cut. We know that. Okay, we can literally reverse climate change. If you say, well, we have messed up the land so much that no tree will ever grow there, and so on and so forth, then why are we even going to Mars? If you can't even bring back a tree here on Earth, well, you think you can really grow things on Mars? So that's my problem, and people have shown that we can grow trees. We can bring back the forests. They've taken bare land, land that looks like desert, and turned that back into forests. Why? How? By just creating these structures that store water. So it's fundamentally about restoring the water cycle of the planet. Okay, so you store the water and then start planting the native trees in that region, and it comes back. And then, because most of the time the seeds are still in the soil, still in the ground, and so it's ready to be woken up. The beauty of life is so resilient that it's very hard for us to kill it completely. You know what I mean?
No matter how hard we try.
No matter how hard we are trying really hard, but no, you can't. So this is why I say, just look at the numbers. 3 trillion trees have been cut mainly for animal agriculture. And every year we are cutting more and more trees to grow more and more cows. And I say, are you crazy?
Yeah,
we should be doing the opposite.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's too sensible, It's like, yeah, we always do the opposite of what's sensible, So, and then the other thing is how much land animal agriculture occupies. So,
right.
I've had Joseph Poore on this show, and he did a very interesting study out of Oxford University. Mm-hmm. And so his estimate was that if we were to transform to a vegan human population, we would free land the size of Africa for reforestation and species recovery. So what do you think in those terms?
Yeah, actually, it's more like almost double the size of Africa is what you would restore, according to the IPCC. So the IPCC is saying that 37% of the land area of the planet is used to graze animals today. Now, they've broken that up into two. They've broken that up into extensive grazing land and grazing land. I think Joseph Poore is only counting the extensive grazing land. He's not counting the other land. But, there aren't too many wild animals running around grazing anymore because our farmed animals have just overrun. I mean, they're just vastly bigger in terms of biomass than all the wild animals put together. So they're doing all the grazing. And so 37% of the land area of the planet is being used to graze our farmed animals. And all that land can be returned back to original forests if we just go vegan. Because if you look at the amount of food we eat, right? So we eat about 1.6 billion tons of food. Now, 85% of that already comes from plants. So we're already eating a plant-rich diet worldwide. Okay. You may not know it looking at what people eat in the US, because US, people are they're gorging on it. They're gorging on animal foods. But the rest of the world is not doing that kind of gorging. So if you look at the average, 85% of the food is already plant-based. 12% is from land animals. And 3% is from the ocean, okay, and from fishes. So for 85% of the food, which is plant food, we are getting that from about 6% of the land area of the planet. So roughly half of the cropland output is going to feed people directly. Actually, it's roughly 1/4. So let's say 6% of the land area of the planet is providing 85% of the food we eat. And then 43% of the land area of the planet is providing just 12% of the food we eat. And that's the animal foods. And then for 3% of the food we eat, we are destroying the entire ocean. That's the crazy part, right? So if we just went vegan, that 100% of the food is plant-based, we would be using less than 10% of the land area of the planet for our food. And the rest of the land we can return back to nature. And the ocean we can return back to nature so that the whales and the fishes can have their habitat. And the wild animals can have their habitat. And when they have their habitat, they will come back. So it's
of course, animal agriculture, or eating meat, dairy, fish, and eggs, is the main cause of loss of habitat, which leads us to extinction. So going vegan seems to solve just about every environmental challenge, whether it's deforestation, resource depletion, water scarcity. But people are concerned about extinction. Well, the very source of extinction is habitat destruction, and everything's getting cut down to grow either GMO soy and corn or graze animals, right?
Right.
Now, have you heard much about there's this latest fad, because they always want to get you to eat animal products. So it's regenerative agriculture. We're being sold on grazing as being environmentally responsible. And have you looked at that at all, or?
Well, it's a scam. So I don't know any other way to put it. It's a scam. So fundamentally, what they're saying is, so what happens today is you cut down forests and you turn that into grazing land. And guess what happens? Every year, the forest is trying to come back, right? So the forest is growing all these plants and trees, and then the animals are eating whatever they can eat. And then what do you do with the rest? So every year, they chop the rest and burn it. This is called pasture maintenance, fires. Okay, so they set fires to maintain the pastures. And so this way, they are trying to maximize growing what our animals eat and minimize what our animals don't eat. So what the regenerative grazing people are saying is, okay, we won't cut down, we won't cut down the plants and do pasture maintenance fires anymore. So we let the wild plants grow. Then what happens? You need more land to get the same amount of food for your animals.
Yeah, people say like they think grass-fed beef is a solution, environmental solution, right? Grass-fed beef. Well, how much land is there to provide grass-fed beef to people?
See, the numbers don't lie. This is why I say look at the numbers. 85% of our food is coming from just 6% of the land for plant-based foods. 12% of the food is coming from 43% of the land for animal-based foods. Now, if you go and say, I have a different way of raising animals that requires more land for the animals, I say, wait a minute, excuse me.
Yeah.
What in the heck are you doing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, as an engineer, okay, if someone came to me and said, this is my engineering solution, I would throw him out of my office right away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So It doesn't much time to figure this.
Wouldn't make it to that committee for sure, right?
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
So as I recall in my the statistics from my discussion with Joseph Poor, I think he said that we could reduce farmland by 75%, pretty much, meaning animal agriculture, and
Right.
still feed the whole human population with the remaining 25%. Does that sound?
Yeah, see, but he's, as I said, he's not counting a certain portion of the grazing land, right, in his calculations. So if I look at his numbers and match it with what the IPCC is saying, his numbers are, he starts off with a much smaller set of numbers. So anyway, in that situation, what he's saying is that we can actually feed people with plant-based foods on about 9% of the land area of the planet. That's according to his calculations. And I agree with that. He's right. So which would leave, 43% of the land open for us to bring back the forests. And that is, see, right now, only 9% of the original forests are there. Okay? We count forests as wherever there are trees, it's a forest, right?
Right.
So they have this method of counting, which is based on just saying what is the tree cover in a certain
Central
grid?
Park is a forest, right?
Yeah, exactly. And and so they just count a 1 mile by 1 mile area and see how many trees there are. And I think if the tree count is greater than 10%, tree cover is greater than 10%, they mark it as a forest. And so 31% of the land area of the planet is currently forested, according to official statistics from the UN. But of that, most of it is actually plantations. These are plantations that we planted in order to make toilet paper and all kinds of nonsense, right? So this is our stuff. It's really not what wild animals like. I mean, I've gone to forests in India where they say the forest is being maintained by the forest officers. And I look in there and it's full of plantations, teak plantations, because it's good for our lumber, right? And the elephants, they can't live there because there's nothing for them to eat.
So that's corruption of numbers again, right?
Exactly.
There, right?
Exactly. So really, this is why wild animals are down by more than 90% from what they used to be 10,000 years ago. So this is why I say the world is going to be vegan by 2026, whether we like it or not.
Well, we like it, though. We do like it.
Of course we like it. I mean, we like it. You and I like it.
We have the best food.
Like
Come on. We have the best food, so,
I know. I hear you. I mean, see, for us as a species, for us it's a matter of just eating this instead of that, wearing this instead of that. It really doesn't change us that much. So we are just, in fact, we get healthier. We actually get better, okay, when we go vegan. For the animals, it's a matter of life and death. Okay? It's a matter of extinction or no extinction.
Well, and pain and suffering and imprisonment and torture. I mean, it's just so horrible, and
so horrible.
I appreciate. I think that you say that, cruelty is not sustainable, really, right? I mean, so you have a lot of concern about animals too in all of this.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd say that we depend on the animals. Let's not forget that. We depend on the wild animals for our own survival. Because I cannot imagine an ecosystem with just human beings and cockroaches. It doesn't work. Okay? So we're going to be eating each other if we ever get to that point. So we really need the wild animals. We need the trees. We need the plants. We need life to thrive on this planet. We can't just kill, and expect life to thrive. It's not going to do that. So we're getting really good at killing. Okay, so our killing
and
machine,
you are what you eat, and it's so violent. So no wonder there's so much violence in the world. It's our diet. That's our nutrition is violence.
Yeah, it's also, fundamentally, it's because of the way we create money. The way we create money, the architecture of money, and the way we value things makes us do these things. So it's really, changing the rules of the game, you will solve all our problems, okay, fundamentally. So this
We'll
is what
talk about that a little bit, what you're saying here now about
yeah.
what do you mean?
You see, I'm a systems engineer, right? So I look at systems. I try to understand systems and why certain behaviors happen. And you look at the foundations for why certain behaviors happen, certain things happen, and you discover that there are axioms, there are certain foundations that you build things on, and that cause us to behave like this. Okay, so it's not people's fault. It's the system that you're in that's causing it to do that. It's the rules of the game. And so the rules of the game in the current economic system is that you value something highly if it is rare. So if gold is valued highly, right? Because it's rare. Or platinum is valued highly because it's rare. So then what you do is when you have something that is abundant, it's worthless, right? Because if there's plenty of it, if you could go grab it from the street, why would you pay for it? No one will pay for it, right? So when water is clean everywhere, water is valueless. When trees are plentiful everywhere and there are fruits and berries everywhere, no one's going to go to the supermarket and buy fruits or berries. So you have to make things scarce in order to value it. Mm-hmm. So we are basically wishing for scarcity from nature. We're saying, can we have some scarcity, please? And nature will say, yeah, I'll give it to you. So we are deliberately, so it's our system that deliberately pollutes. It pollutes the water so that people can make money off of clean water. It pollutes the air so that people can make money off of clean air. So we have created a system in which there is an incentive to pollute in order to create value. Right? So think about that, because that's how we have set it up. And if the rules are set up this way, why are you shocked that that?
Well, I mean, I thought it would be more like we pollute because there are no repercussions, and
Right.
we're not penalized, and we can produce this product, and who cares? Well, there won't be a fine, and if there is a fine, it'll be like a penny, to the corporation.
So we pollute because there is no regulation against, but leave that aside. So we have this, we begin with an attitude that nature is just a bunch of objects that's there for us to exploit. Okay. Mm-hmm. And anything, so we have this axiom of supremacism. I call it an axiom of supremacism, which is that life is a competitive game in which those who have gained an advantage may possess, enslave, and exploit animals, nature, and the disadvantaged for our pursuit of happiness. Okay, so this is what I call the axiom of supremacism. So
I've often mentioned human supremacy when it comes to animals, right? I mean,
it's not just human supremacy; it's also white supremacy, male supremacy. They are all built into this axiom. So meaning, if I have an advantage because I was born rich, or if I was born with an advantage, I am entitled to use that advantage and trample on people who don't have that advantage. That's the way the system is set up. Right?
Yeah, well, the system is set up to oppress the weaker or perceived weaker.
Yeah. Oppress the weaker, and obviously the animals are the weakest, so we can oppress them. Yeah. So we have this axiom of supremacism that is kind of built into our system. And so we see that all around us. When you see a slaughterhouse, you're looking at the axiom of supremacism.
When you go into the supermarket and people are just casually looking at all these body parts lying around everywhere, deciding, oh, that one looks delicious. I don't know. I see human supremacy right there, and I can't understand why people don't see things differently, or that by now people, when they're chewing on something in their mouth, they don't go, oh my God, it's a chicken wing, or whatever it might be. Should be so shocking and repulsive. That's what I don't understand. I think the brainwashing that goes into making us eat what's so repulsive is amazing, actually.
Yeah, we're kind of lied to as children. So we are lied to, we are told, like that's what I discovered about myself. I was lied to in my textbooks that you need to eat meat or some animal product in order to get protein. It's either meat or cheese or dairy. So you can't go without any animal product. Then you're going to just have protein deficiency. You're going to die off, right?
Right, that
And
protein deficiency that, I don't see vegans crawling through the streets going, yeah, protein, give me protein. It just doesn't seem to happen, But the whole thing is, even before you get to the textbooks, it's all, I don't know, it's just all so acceptable. In my public school, PS 152 Manhattan, every day they brought in a little container of cow's milk and cookies, and it's like,
right,
okay, little human kids, drink the milk of a cow. It's normal. Why is
right,
that even normal? Why wasn't I drinking squirrel milk or cat milk? Why was that the normal one? I mean, it's all so normalized, and
right.
I just my mother would make me a tongue sandwich for lunch in my lunchbox, and I eat it, and I don't think like I'm eating someone's tongue. Mom, what are you doing to me?
Right,
It's just God. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's eating animal body parts, and
right.
nobody's questioning it. And that's eventually, you know, I got to age 19, Queens College in New York, and cooking Friday nights. Friends came over every Friday night, and I was cooking a chicken dish like I did every week, but usually it was chicken cutlets, round, nondescript food. And that week it was the leg, the thigh, the body part, and I said, I'm eating somebody's body. I don't think I can eat animals anymore. And everybody looked at me like, what's wrong with you? Like, what? You're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we are colonized.
What's
When
that?
we are colonized with animal foods, because
Mm.
basically animal foods are humans colonizing the bodies of animals, right? Using the
Mm-hmm.
bodies of animals for our pleasure, as opposed to telling the animals, "Hey, you own your body."
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we're colonizing the bodies of animals. So that's what animal foods are doing. But the animal agriculture industry is using these bodies of animals and their body parts to colonize us.
Mm-hmm.
Because what are they doing to our bodies? They're trying to turn us into customers for the pharmaceutical industries.
Right, for the hospital bed. For the.
Exactly. So it's a system that is colonizing all of our bodies in order to make profit.
It
So
doesn't seem to have our best interests at heart here,
it
you're
never
saying,
never did,
Philip.
right? It always is the self-interest of someone, right? So
Mm-hmm.
and that too, corporations. They're so we have designed these corporations. We have actually created regulations and rules for how corporations should behave that are fundamentally psychopathic. So we have agreed to it. So we know that there are
I
psychopathic laws.
agree so easily. It's like, oh, you're not saying anything strange to me. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
the
So
system is
so and then
fundamentally
why are we shocked?
psychopathic, right? So.
Right? So then we shouldn't be shocked that the corporations act like psychopaths because they are. They're meant to act like psychopaths. So we have created a system in which there are these mindless psychopaths with lots of power running around, basically uh, running an ecological Ponzi scheme. So the ecological Ponzi scheme is to liquidate the capital of the planet, liquidate the natural wealth of the planet, and distribute it as short-term income to the corporations, to the psychopaths,
Hmm.
and to whoever owns those corporations. So there are really very few people who truly own the corporations. If you look at all the voting shareholders of the corporations, of all the major corporations, you will see the same four financial holding companies:
Hmm.
Fidelity, Vanguard, State Street, and BlackRock. And if you go look for who owns these four financial holding companies, you'll discover that they are all private holding companies who don't have to disclose their shareholders. So it's a secret as to who is really running the planet.
Hmm.
And so we have been given this facade, okay, of of going and voting and participating in a democratic process. It's a facade. In reality, the power you never really had the power. The power belongs to these psychopathic corporations and the people who are running it. Okay, and so that's that. So, and they're running an ecological Ponzi scheme, and so they don't even listen to us when we say, "Hey, dude, you're destroying the planet. You're doing something absolutely stupid, like killing everything off, when you could have done this instead." So, from an engineering perspective, we have some of the most incompetent. It's the most incompetent civilization you could have built. It's incompetent in how it produces food. It's incompetent in how it produces energy. I mean, it is incompetent in every way possible. I mean, if we run a spacecraft like the way we run Spaceship Earth, the spacecraft will never even get off the ground. Okay, it's that incompetent. So.
Sure. So what's the solution? We all go vegan. It creates a vegan economy, and it kind of undermines the powers that be.
Oh no! See, the solution is we all have to. The vegans, those who have already gone vegan. It's not you don't have to wait until everybody goes vegan. It's those who have already gone vegan have a responsibility to create a new system that's based on fostering abundance. So a new system in which people lead their ordinary lives and the planet must thrive. And I say, it's not hard to build a system like that. In fact, what I did with the Internet Committee was one of those systems, right? Meaning the Internet Committee itself was a system that took everyone's input and turned it into something that was much better than what each person could have come out on their own. So we have to have a system that taps into the collective intelligence of humanity in order to make good decisions. Right now, we have a system that actually taps into the collective stupidity. No, seriously.
Well, I know, but I'm with you.
That's how we have designed it. And you look at it and you say, what the heck are they doing?
Yep.
Look at the decisions of our governments, right? Sure. We had a pandemic caused by animal agriculture. And then in May of last year, President Trump issues an executive order declaring slaughterhouses to be critical infrastructure. And everybody is saying, yeah, critical infrastructure. What the heck?
Yeah.
Right? So they are protecting that the root cause of the pandemic. They are making sure that the new pandemic will show up.
Yeah. If it didn't start in a laboratory, I'm just saying, just that in case the virus wasn't somehow started in a lab. I know that we thought it was bat soup now, and that certainly sounded very tempting. A nice bowl of bat soup sounded as delicious and tempting as chicken soup, pouring hot water over an animal's body. But okay, well, I'm not sure. I'm just saying.
Bob, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. All we know that when animals are crammed together and tortured, there are going to be viruses multiplying.
Yes.
We know that. Okay, it's well-known science.
Many cases in history. Of that.
It's well-known science. We even understand the mechanism by which that happens.
Bird flu, swine flu, all the...
You name it, right? Yeah. But we also understand the mechanism, meaning when an animal is terrorized, its immune system is going to say, Mayday, Mayday, I'm about to die. So focus on survival. And so when the animal's immune system is focused on survival, the viruses are going to multiply in the animal's bodies. So that's why we keep feeding the animals antibiotics and all these things so that they live, exist, so to speak, right? Until they're slaughtered. And so these antibodies, we keep feeding the animals these antibiotics. The viruses are going to become more and more like superbugs.
Right.
So if you wanted to create a superbug pandemic, you would start factory farms and slaughterhouses.
Yeah, that's the animal agriculture, like it's the source of all evil. I mean, it's really
It's
Yeah.
perfectly designed. It's perfectly engineered to create superbug pandemics. Okay, it's perfectly engineered for that purpose. So, so
Which
that
is
so
then advantageous to the pharmaceutical industries because then they can produce vaccines and make a
right,
lot of money then too.
right. So that's a system we have, right? So a
Right.
system that never really addresses the root cause of problems. It's only trying to make money off of the symptoms. This is not a new thing, okay, that we are discovering. This is something that Gandhi wrote about 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago. In 1909, he wrote a book called Hind Swaraj, in which he said Western civilization is based on this idea that you don't have to address root cause at all, just keep patching up the symptoms, and you make money off the symptoms. And so he was telling Indians at that point, we don't have to adopt Western methods. We can stick with what we know, which is because in India we always address the root cause of problems, right? That's how we have our culture is based on that.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, so
Huh.
he you should read his book. Actually, he wrote about this, and his book got banned by the British government because it was considered to be,
You got to love that censorship. So, what was the name of the book again?
Hind Swaraj.
Hmm.
Hind Swaraj.
Okay. So you're saying that's part of Indian culture is to look at things at the root cause? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at Indian medicine, it's addressing the root cause. If you look at Indian legal system, it's addressing the root cause. So the purpose of a lawyer in India, a vakil we call him, is to resolve disputes. So here, the purpose of a lawyer is to enhance disputes because he can make money out of it.
hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's the opposite. So, and he pointed out that this way of living is not sustainable. He said this, like 110 years ago, 1909. And his book got banned by the British, and that's how he became famous.
Mm.
Because
And then you
when his
also
book
said
got
the
banned,
the root cause of medicine. You said was
yeah, he said the way Western medicine works, they never address the root cause. They just look at the symptoms and try to patch up the symptoms. Whereas in Indian medicine, Ayurveda, they're constantly trying to balance you out so that they're addressing the root cause.
sure. Hmm.
And so they're saying, okay, you have less of this, more of that, and therefore we need to eat more of this in order to balance yourself.
Hmm. Makes sense.
So uh, and so the idea behind Indian medicine is to make sure that the patient doesn't have to come back to you. Whereas the idea behind Western medicine is to make sure that the patient keeps coming back to you
Exactly.
because you need to make more money off of the patient, right?
Right. Hmm. So what the Indian doctors or they don't want to get paid that often or like they're not they're
In India, the system was not like this at all. The way it was until India got colonized by the British was that people really never really paid for food. No one really paid for food. You just went to your neighbor and ate if you didn't have any food in your home.
hmm.
So because every guest was treated as if he was God or she was God. So we had that culture of a guest being treated as a god, and so no one was ever turned away. If you had something, you gave it to your guest first before you ate yourself. That was the
Hmm.
culture. So this made sure that people actually were fed. And if you're basically fed, you don't have to worry about other things,
It
right?
eliminates a lot of problems,
It eliminates a
definitely.
lot of problems because
Yeah.
shelter, you just take a bunch of twigs and put together a house. What's the big deal?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I
people,
mean that's why I wonder how every city government doesn't just focus on okay the basics are let's get everybody fed and then
right,
we'll work from there, right?
exactly. That's why, feeding people is a revolutionary act. So if you can get healthy vegan food to every human being on the planet, you will topple the system.
Hmm.
So that's the idea behind food
Now
healers.
I know some organizations that work toward that like Food for Life Global and
Right.
Feedome, and do you have any suggestions that in mind related to any of helping feed people?
Basically, I'm suggesting that Food for Life Global, or what Food for Life Global does, should be scaled up by a factor of 1,000, so that it covers every human being on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
So, because what Food for Life Global does is fundamentally they make stews. Their primary food that they give out in schools. And I went to one of their school food distribution programs, and I actually served the food to the kids. And so they were making what they call khichdi. It's really like a stew. So it's a stew, which is just a mixture of grains, lentils, vegetables, spices, all put together so that it was a one-pot meal,
Mm-hmm.
It's a one bowl meal.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids loved it. I mean, they were coming back for seconds, and I loved it.
Sure.
I mean, I was eating their food and I was saying, I would love to eat this every day.
Sounds great. Yeah, so I do know the people from Food for Life Global, so I think what they're doing is great, and if they could spread it further, the further the better, the farther the better. So.
Right. I think we all need to get involved in a food distribution program like that.
Mm-hmm.
We start something like Food for Life Global. We call it food healers.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people working in Los Angeles actually right now on food healers. It's called We Are Uno.
We are Uno?
We are Uno. Yeah. Ingrid Butaya and Sarah Siegel. So they've been working on this. Basically, take all the vegetables that you get, the vegetables from farmers markets, and you take, because grains are not that expensive. Grains and lentils, beans you can buy really cheap at Costco, right, in bulk. And so start making these meals that are inexpensive, and simultaneously they are extremely healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So unless people are healthy, they're not going to be concerned about veganism or anything like that, So they're much more concerned about their own health.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Right?
And they're kept so unhealthy generally by what's distributed publicly.
Exactly.
I mean, all the cheese that goes to everybody who's lactose intolerant.
Yeah, the system is designed to make money off diseases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is why the system subsidizes unhealthy food.
You were involved with Go to Health?
What the Health?
What the Health? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, What the Health? Yeah, I'm one of the executive producers. Yeah.
Executive producer. So how did you come to that project? Like, how did that?
Well, because I was involved with Cowspiracy.
Mm-hmm. And how were you involved with that too? They two really like two of the most important movies like ever, really, and so well done. So informative and entertaining, because it's so interesting when people are like put on the spot.
Yeah.
When you go to an environmental organization and say like, what about animal agriculture, since it's the number one cause of everything? And they say, well, what about it, right? What about it? That's their answer, And then, you look at the Heart Association or Diabetes Association and their recommended diets, and they're like, okay, well, I guess that's to keep them members, right? Well,
right. So that's a systemic, right? It's a systemic issue. So the system is set up so that people find a niche where they can make money, and they don't want to make that niche go away. Mm-hmm. So you're stuck in a system like that. So when you have a systemic problem like this, you cannot solve it by just yelling at people. You can only solve it by.
What am I going to do?
You have to create a new system that people can come and join that does things correctly. See, when I was working on the internet back in 95, 96, people came and asked me, you're a systems guy. Why don't you go and study the system of this 100 megabit Ethernet connection and tell us what we are doing wrong? Because people keep returning the devices back to us and saying it doesn't work, right? Mm-hmm. So I started studying it, and I found that there were fundamental issues in the standard. So they had, their scrambler was too short or something. There were some issues. Okay. So, and I told them, look, you can't fix it. It's messed up. Okay. Your scramblers are too short. So unless you go change the whole standard, which you cannot do because you already sold a bunch of these things, they're out there. So, but I said, this cable is so robust that I can make a robust standard that runs 10 times faster. And that when that over-designed chip falls back to the original speed, it'll be very robust. So that was my solution to them. And they all laughed at me. Right? But that's the same thing we need to do now, because we have a system that's fundamentally messed up. Okay? Because it's based on axioms that are false. The axiom of supremacism is false. The axiom of consumerism is false. Because our entire system is based on the axiom that the pursuit of happiness is best accomplished by stoking and satisfying a never-ending series of latent desires in human beings. We know that that's not true. We know that if you keep chasing your desires over and over, you will never be happy. So we have a system that's lying to us about these two fundamental axioms. Okay, they're basically false axioms. And we have created an entire system based on these because we have ads, right? We have 3,500 ads that the average American sees every day. Why? Because the average American has been told that's where your happiness is. And so as a result, half of Americans are on anti-anxiety medications or antidepressants or on illegal drugs on a regular basis. Half of adult Americans are doing this. Okay, so does that mean that we suck at the pursuit of happiness? Is that what that is? Or is it a system based on...
Was the other half happy? Half is on drugs. What about the other half?
We don't
know. Are they
know.
happy, or are they oppressing the other half that's not happy?
I don't know. Right? So we know statistically that half of the Americans are on drugs.
Half's a pretty high number, right? So
it is the worst. It's the worst in the world. Okay, so so this is the richest country in the world that has the worst drug use. So you realize that we are being taken for a ride. This system is messed up, and I'm saying that the axioms are messed up. Okay, so you built the system on false axioms. You cannot tweak it by changing the law while maintaining the axioms.
So then what would the new good system be? What would we do? What would that look like?
Well, so the correct axioms are, so I call it the true axiom of inner peace, which is that the pursuit of happiness is best accomplished by looking for it within ourselves. Okay, and second is what I call the axiom of homo ahimsa instead of the axiom of supremacism. So the axiom of homo ahimsa is that all life is one family, in which we each bring our unique skills to give all we can, receive all we need, and become all we are, which is the vitality code of Dr. Shelley Ostroff. So basically, we have to create a system that implements these two axioms. And
my Western axioms that I thought were pretty good, until you just mentioned yours, were thou shalt not kill and do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So I thought,
right.
The killing, the violence has got
right.
to stop. And when you say ahimsa, that's really like do not harm, right?
Right. Absolutely. That's do not harm. So it is, but it's actually saying that every life has value, right? So that's so that starts by treating life as sacred, as opposed to treating life as, we are superior to them, so we can do what we want because we are more powerful than them. Then if we are more powerful than someone, you can oppress them. This is the might is right rule, is what we have today. Okay. And I'm saying the might is right rule will never lead to a sustainable civilization, period. You can stand on your head, do whatever you want, but so long as you say might is right and greed is good, you will never have a sustainable civilization. And
Right,
so,
because there's always the oppression and, no justice, no peace out of all of that,
exactly,
really.
exactly, yeah. Ultimately, sustainability is about morality because the truth is sustainable, lies are not. Justice is sustainable, injustice is not. Kindness is sustainable, cruelty is not. So anything that you consider to be moral is sustainable. Anything that you consider to be immoral is unsustainable. So fundamentally, we have an unsustainable civilization because it is based on immoral axioms.
And it's pretty much fed on immorality, right?
Right.
So that's its diet. And so I would think then that if we were to go vegan in massive numbers, that that would represent huge steps in the directions about which you speak.
It is a huge step, but until you have a system designed based on the correct axioms that people can plug into,
Can
it
that
won't
system
matter.
even be designed until enough people are vegan and have that
No, I think
morality
there are.
running through them?
No, but I think there are enough of us now that we can start doing it. We don't
Oh,
have to wait for
okay.
everybody to go vegan to do it. Yeah, we can start doing it on
All
our own.
right, we are in huge numbers right now. That is
Exactly.
true.
Yeah.
Although sometimes we feel isolated in the world, we're massive, really. So,
In fact, I'm teaching a course through the Hindu University of America exactly on this, and I have a bunch of students who I'm trying to rope into building a system like this. Okay, so because unless we have a system like this, we cannot go and blame people. We cannot go and tell people, hey, you're being
what are
bad.
the specifics of building a system like this again? Like what would
So you need to create a new system. You need new institutions, new infrastructure, a new constitution, and a new currency system.
well
So
then do you have to have a specific geographic location all your own to be
oh no, no, this can be a virtual world that you're creating, a virtual vegan world you create. Okay. So you create a vegan world in which there are vegan institutions, a vegan constitution, a vegan infrastructure, and vegan currencies. So a vegan currency that we can trade among us. Basically, what is a currency? It just says I can see the flow of information. That's what a currency is. So it says that I did this for you, and therefore someone is going to do something for me later because I did this for you. So that I'm part of a community that's helping each other out. See, that's how we coordinate our actions as human beings. Billions of us can coordinate our actions together, and that's how we became so powerful. And we are sort of misusing our power at the moment. But the fact that we are able to coordinate our actions among billions of us is a good thing. And we can use that to do good as opposed to just destroy the planet, right? So it's the same thing that allows us to be very powerful at destroying the planet will allow us to be very powerful at regenerating the planet. But to do that, you really have to create these new systems, the new systems that are based on fostering the good, based on creating collective intelligence that is stronger than each individual. And it has to begin with equality. So fundamentally, people should feel that they're being treated fairly when they join the new system. Because if they think we also have the same hierarchies and somebody is going to just corner all the stuff and, you have another Bill Gates and another whatever, Jeff Bezos, then why would they want to move from there to here? Right? It's the same damn thing. So so you really have to create a system, and you have to be scrupulous about it. We have to be able to show theoretically that this system, the new system that you're building, will have distributed intelligence. It will have collective intelligence that's smarter than any individual. It will have processes in place to foster that, just like what we did with the internet committees, right? Because if the internet committees were like the government, the internet would not be working, okay, today. Because the
Right.
government really takes a beautiful planet and trashes it. That's what our governments are doing these days.
Sure. Yeah.
And
So you say you're trying to do an experimental project based on that?
yeah, we are creating a currency system, and we are sort of
A currency system as part of it, like you say? Yeah.
yeah, currency system is part of it. Because if you look at the current way in which we measure our activities, we have a currency system that's fundamentally messed up. It's flawed. Okay, it's just one number. Everything comes down to one number. How many dollars or how many equivalent rupees or whatever, and everything is interchangeable to a dollar. So ultimately, it's the dollar that drives everything, right? So this is why it's an American empire. And so you then measure everything based on this dollar. And you say if I'll buy something that's worth $1, if something else is $2, I don't go for the $2, I go for the $1. So it's just one number that determines whether you choose one or the other, right? Now, if you look at the planet, there are lots of things that are going wrong. The land use is going out of whack, the water use is going out of whack, carbon dioxide levels, there's nitrogen levels, phosphorus levels, all those things have to be measured. And we have to then make sure that we stay within the bounds. So meaning you cannot boil it all down to one number.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have multiple numbers to figure out whether you're doing something right or not, right? So it really has to be a multidimensional currency. So it becomes complicated for ordinary people. So which is why we need to have systems in place. So that makes it automatic for people. So you just get a flow of money coming into your account and you're happy. So if I have a flow of money coming into my account, I'll do what I need to do.
Well, sign me up.
Exactly, right? In fact, when I explain this to people, they all say, sign me up, And I'm saying, wait a minute, I don't have everything in place yet, but we have to write the software for it, right?
So, and this isn't something geographical, like because Climate Healers is in Phoenix. You're saying this is something more virtual with people participating anywhere, or?
Yeah, exactly. It has to be virtual, and anyone should be able to participate from anywhere in the world. And in fact, I think that the poor people will flock to it much faster than the rich people, which is good because they are the ones who are doing all the grunge work right now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we really have a system that exploits the poor terribly. So,
absolutely right. If they run out of money and their account goes below zero, you get charged. They charge you for being poor. There are more fees on the poor.
Right. So we kind of have a system that steals from the poor to enrich the rich.
Mm-hmm.
So the rich get richer and richer, and the poor get poorer and poorer. But then we create this Ponzi scheme and saying, oh, we're going to make the pie bigger. But beyond a certain point, we only have one planet, So,
sure.
So we've already made the pie bigger than the planet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's no more to grow, right? No more to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we need a second planet, especially if we're going to, increase, meat and dairy and egg consumption.
Yeah.
We need a second planet.
Well, no, obviously we cannot do that anymore. So I'm assuming that there's going to be a vegan world. So in my mind, it's already a vegan world. It's just people are just walking around. They're all pre-vegans. They're all vegans in their hearts, and they're just trying to come into alignment with their hearts.
I can relate to that. I like that. I think that everybody's a pre-vegan. Everybody has a vegan inside, ready to emerge Absolutely. At some point, and the sooner the better, right?
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, and so why did you pick? What year are you saying everybody has to be vegan? Because I keep saying no, now. So,
right.
But you're saying.
I'm saying 2026 because I want to create when I started off with a goal of 2026, that's based on the calculation that we are on track to wipe out almost 100% of wild animals by that year. So at the current rate. So if we don't do anything, if we don't talk about Vegan World 2026, and if we just let it be, if we say vegan by 2050, there are people who talk about 50% by 2040 or whatever. And that never, you never get to a solution that way. Okay. You never say, I'll cut it by half by, I don't know, 40 years from now, because people are going to say 40 years from now, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep doing what I have to do now, right?
Right. So I want 100% vegan world within 2 months.
Well, that's a good goal, okay? But is it achievable? So then I started saying, okay, let's pick a goal in which that number, the date has a significance. So when people ask me, what is the significance of 2026? I tell them, if we keep doing what we're doing today, by 2026, we are on track to wipe out every last wild animals on this planet. Do you want that to happen? They say, no, of course not. They say, okay, then you have to go vegan. So we have to create a vegan world by that date. So the number has a significance, right? So the date has a significance and it's achievable. So I say in 5 years, can we persuade every human being on the planet to switch from this to that?
Well,
why not?
I'm willing to work on it, but again, the sooner the better. The sooner the better, because the day everybody goes vegan, it'll be hard to celebrate because we'll say like, hey, it's great, everybody's vegan. Oh, too bad, all the wild animals are gone as of today. It's kind of a downer.
Well, think about it, Bob. If we get everybody to go vegan by that date, there will be wild animals left. Why? Because we haven't killed them all. See, it's not like we are going to keep eating meat, and then on December 31st, 2026, everybody goes vegan on one day. That's not how it happens.
Mm-hmm. So we're building toward that number. We need the new people who are vegan today and tomorrow and next week to all add up to finally getting to that point then.
Right. It's a momentum. You're building momentum towards that date. Okay. So it's like you're like saying, so I use the analogy of a car. So you're driving a car at 90 miles an hour, and it's a beautiful car. It's a convertible Ferrari, and the wind is blowing through your hair and you're so happy. And you round a bend in the road and you see a concrete wall in front of you on the road. Some joker built it. Okay. And it's just 5 seconds away from impact. At that point, would you say, oh, I love to drive my car fast and therefore I'll never take my foot off the accelerator? Or would you say, I wish I had a Tesla so I could crash into the wall with a Tesla? No. You will take your foot off the accelerator and put it on the brake as quickly as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if your children and grandchildren are in the back seat. That is what we face today. And to me, veganism is about convincing everybody that their foot should be off that accelerator and on the brake. So when you go vegan, all you have done is taken your foot off the accelerator. So putting your foot on the brake is about activism, is about going out there and regenerating the forest, is doing the opposite of what we were doing before, which is destroy the planet.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'm glad that's clarified that we build the momentum and everybody's vegan by then, because I just didn't want people to gorge themselves like for the next 4 years, going like, oh, I can go vegan in 2026. So it's like meatless Mondays when people double up on the meat on Tuesday for the sacrifice they made.
No. The message should be go vegan now, right? So the message we're telling people is go vegan now, because our goal is to get to 100% vegan by 2026. Though internally our goal is at least 50%. Okay, so that's what we are trying to get to. But we talk about 100%, we'll get to 50%. But the momentum should be towards a vegan world, because I say it is just plain common sense for us to go vegan. It's plain common sense to take your foot off the accelerator when you see a concrete wall in front of you. Mm-hmm. You don't have to tell you. I don't have to go persuade you to take your foot off the accelerator.
Sure.
Because you will be stupid to keep it there, right? Mm-hmm. When you see a concrete wall. But that's the wall I'm pointing out to people in 2026, in that number 2026. I'm pointing out the wall.
Yep. Well, I would say, we're about to crash into that wall. So, like, everybody get ready to stomp on that brake, and
Yeah.
the brake is to stop eating meat, dairy, fish, and eggs, and get get active for the cause. You were talking about Gandhi in India before. Why do we feel that there's like a foundation for compassion in India? Like, why
Mm.
is there that association?
Yeah, India has been a source of a lot of religious leaders who based their worldview on kindness and compassion to all life, to treating nature as sacred. So I would say, Hinduism is the largest indigenous religion on the planet. Okay, it's because Hinduism is based on reverence towards nature. We treat nature as goddess. She's our goddess. So it's based on that. Not that it hasn't been corrupted. It's been corrupted too, just like every other religion has been corrupted. Um, but I also think that fundamentally it is there in every religion. Okay? If you look deeper, it's there in every religion, because every religion is really talking about sustainability. And sustainability, which is meaning that you are living on Earth for millions of years. You have to live as if you are living on Earth for millions of years, not just for the next 50 years and then you're done, right?
Mm, mm,
So it's not short-term thinking. So religions are all based on this long-term propagation of the species, and that only comes with kindness and compassion and morality. And this is why all religions have compassion at their core. Okay, so it's not just Indian religions, but in India, it was front and center.
mhm.
It wasn't something that you had to look for. It was in our daily lives.
Yeah. Well, even in the biblically in the Old Testament, Genesis book 1 verse 29 says to be
Right,
vegan,
right.
and I don't know, people seem to have skipped that page because, like you say, I mean it's basically like God's first commandment on what to eat, and it is vegan. So
Right.
I don't know. People kind of skip over it whenever I mention it. That's another thing that shocks people. Like, I never saw that. I have to go back and check on that.
See, but think about all the rituals and festivals we have, right? Our festivals are all based on animal foods. So we have the rituals of a predator species, because
Hmm.
we are celebrating that we have won life's competitive game. We are the top predator on the planet. Okay, so we have won that, and so we celebrate the predator species status that we have, the top predator species status. So we need to change those rituals and festivals so that we celebrate that we are the caretaker species of the planet.
And
See, it's
celebrate with abundance.
with the
Yeah.
abundance. Basically, we have to recognize that when you're given so much power by nature, you are also given responsibility.
Hmm.
And so, because we use that power to bully other species, or we use that power to nurture them. It's up to us what we want to do with that power. We
Hmm.
have that power, whether we like it or not. We have that power. Okay, we have the power to destroy the planet. We have the power to kill any animal we want. We have the power to do immeasurable harm or immeasurable good. It's up to us what we want to use that power for. So I remember that scene in A Few Good Men at the end. I don't know if you remember that movie, Few Good Men.
No.
A Few Good Men, where Jack Nicholson, is being he gets taken out because he ordered the code red, and then these two Marines who are on trial for murder, uh, they get the verdict that they are not guilty of the murder, they are not guilty of attempted murder, but they are guilty of conduct unbecoming a Marine, and they get dishonorably discharged from the Marine Corps. And so that one cadet, he says, "What did we do wrong? We did nothing wrong. We just followed orders." And the other cadet says, "Yeah, we did something wrong. we are supposed to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. That's what Marines are supposed to do. And we actually should have fought for that cadet that we killed. So basically, when you have the power, that you can fight for things, that you have this tremendous strength and power that's been given to you, you should use it to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, right? So fundamentally, it's about protecting and caretaking the planet.
Sure. Oh, that's great. Are you involved with any specific campaigns with climate healers now? And also, I think that in the past you mentioned a vegan group involved with planting trees. I don't know if you want to mention them too, or.
Yeah. In fact, we are going to be talking about them during the convergence, starting tomorrow, starting Saturday, April 24th and 25th. So we have created an app that enables people to become more effective as vegan activists. So it's meant for vegans. It's meant for vegans to tell their friends, hey, all you have to do is download this app and you can see all these short videos that'll tell you why you have to go vegan and why we have to communicate this as quickly as possible. So it's like saying, that story of the car, right? Driving 90 miles an hour and discovering a wall in front of you. So it's about the story of the wall. And so the organization that we partnered with for that app is the organization you're talking about. It's a vegan organization that reforests the planet. And their name is Sadhana Forest. And
spell that?
Sadhana, it's Sadhana forest.
Okay.
And basically, they have turned deserts into forests in India, into native forests and food forests. So basically, with a lot of fruit trees and nut trees and edible plants and so on, so that people in the neighborhood don't ever have to go hungry. And it's a vegan organization.
That's
because
great.
they recycle everything. So basically, they're closing the loop. So they're creating an example of how humans can live in harmony with nature. So because right now in the cities, we really are not in harmony with nature. Our waste is being collected and flushed down the toilet, into a sewer that goes all the way into the ocean eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we take the solid waste and we put it in the landfill. So that's not a good way to close the loop. So you're losing all those nutrients, right? So, but to close the loop with the nutrients, you have to have a vegan community, because if you are eating animals, you're going to have a load of toxins in your poop.
Yeah.
And no one really wants that. Okay.
Really. So I can't help but when I envision that wall, though, I kind of see more like a cow, pig, and chicken heading toward the blades, the knives, and
the wall.
I really want to step on the brake for that. That's
right.
It's.
So we have a killing machine, okay, on the planet. We have a killing machine that's killing 80 billion animals every year, 80 billion farmed animals, and 1 to 3 trillion wild animals, and 40 million human beings every year who die of hunger and diet-related causes, obesity-related causes. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So that's the killing machine.
Yeah, and heart disease included among that, heart disease, cancer, that all can be included in the killing machine.
The killing machine.
The very profitable killing machine, but
Yeah, people are making money off the killing machine, and making trillions of dollars off of it, and but they're also destroying the planet with it. So
let's step on the brake for all of that.
Exactly. So I say, if you want to shut down the killing machine, you have to go vegan. So that killing machine is destroying the planet. Okay, and if you say the planet is dying, but you want to run the killing machine, you want to patronize the killing machine, you want to pay money for the killing machine, you're doing the exact opposite of what you should be doing. So
So again, and how do people get that app, or what it's called, or what?
it's called the United in Heart app. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be unveiled during the convergence, and then it'll be available on iPhone and Android.
So what it's called again? It's called the
United in Heart.
United in Heart app.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So we're going to be screening the documentary and demonstrating the app during the convergence.
Okay. Now,
We'll also have
say when the convergence is and how people can be involved with that. And I'm kind of hoping that this show gets put together and could be out there tomorrow, which is Saturday. Remind me of the date. Where are we?
April 24th.
April 24th. So So what do you mean by convergence?
The convergence happens every 3 months, and it's usually the last weekend of January, April, July, and October. And so it's happening on April 24th and 25th. So Saturday and Sunday, the last weekend of April. And it's just 2 days. We get together, we talk about what we are doing, and we help each other get better at what we do.
And how do people get involved with that?
So join. You can register by going to climatehealers.org, or you can go to bit.ly, so bit.ly/capital wedge capital tix 5. So VEGTIX 5. So it's a capital V and a capital T in that.
Okay. All right. So anything else you want to mention about anything, or should I take Daisy for a walk now?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and take Daisy for a walk. It's awesome talking to you, Bob, as always.
It was a wonderful conversation, and there's so much to learn from you, and I really appreciate your perspectives. And again, you are a vegan superhero, So, and I appreciate everything you're doing, and dedicating yourself to the cause. I mean, it's really that's so admirable. So it's really an honor to have you on today's show, Dr. SAILESH Rao, and it's climatehealers.org.
Right, and I have to tell people that I report to my granddaughter, so she's my boss.
Yeah, like I report to Daisy, she's my boss. But and yeah, so but didn't she have some effect on you, or like
Absolutely.
Didn't you what was it that she said or did about her friends, the animals?
Yeah, basically, I was reading a story to her. I was reading Ruby Roth's book, That's Why We Don't Eat Animals, to her. And she was 5 years old at that time. And at the end of the story, she asked me, so, Grandpa, who were the first human beings? And I have promised her that I'll never, ever lie to her. So I tried to explain to her how evolution works. So I said, imagine that you're standing on the street and you're holding your mama by your hand. And you ask your mama to bring her mama to stand by her side, and so on. So you create a long line of mothers on this side of the street. And on the other side of the street, you ask a chimpanzee to do the same thing with her mother and her grandmother, and so on. By the time these two lines go from Phoenix to Tucson, they would merge, because both lines are going to say, hey, that's my mama too. Immediately she sat up in bed and she said, what? Are you telling me that animals are my family? And I said, now that you put it that way, yeah, they are your family. She said, then why are people eating my family? And she started bawling. She said, Grandpa, make them stop. They're eating my family. And I realized I had created a world full of monsters for my granddaughter. Because she sees all these people around her eating her family. And I was trying to console her. And I said, Kimaya, this is what I do. In fact, it's my job to make them stop. She immediately stopped crying. She looked at me wide-eyed. She said, what? This is your job? This is your job? You know you haven't done your job. She said, when will you do your job? I said, I better do it by 2026. Otherwise, we are all in big trouble. Because I had just calculated the 2026 number at that time, Yeah. And she said, will you promise me that? And I said, okay, I'll promise you. She said, will you give me a pinky promise? I said, okay, I'll give you a pinky promise. And so we gave a pinky promise. And then she said, you can never, ever break a pinky promise. And then she went to sleep. And I realized at that point that I had made a very serious promise to a little girl who was going to hold me to it.
Well, maybe we can all help you make sure you keep that promise. It's our job too.
Exactly. And this is why I say it's a promise from my generation to her generation that we will solve this problem.
Yeah.
We will resolve this.
Yeah, that's what when I started doing this show 20 years ago, I didn't know how long it would last, but in a sense I was making a promise to the animals just to try to keep it going as long as possible, just to try to help them. So it is our job.
It's our job. Yeah, it's our job. So that
was beautiful.
This is what I do every day, and every morning I get up. This is my life.
It's your job. You should be doing it. Sure.
Yeah. No, 7 days a week I do it. Okay, so I'm not taking any breaks here.
Right. Yeah. No union or anything. Right.
No union. Nothing. This is my life. Yeah. I'm prepared to give my life for this cause.
Well, I'm with you on that. And what better cause to which you should give your life. So, right. It's kind of the meaning of life. It's the way of life, really. So.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, SAILESH. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope to be back in touch with you soon. Let's keep doing what we're doing.
Sounds good, Bob. Okay. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that will just about do it for this amazingly awesome episode of Go Vegan Radio with Bob Linden. Our thanks to Dr. SAILESH Rao of Climate Healers. Thank you for listening. It would be so wonderful if you can support our work, as we've been doing this for 20 years in our commitment to the animals, improved human health, and saving the environment. And so you can make a donation, which would be greatly appreciated, and check out some of the archives at goveganradio.com.